There's a moment in life nobody warns you about. A moment when you're sitting somewhere, a park, a bus stop, your own room, and you suddenly realize you recarrying a kind of sadness you can name. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's just there, sitting inside you like a silent weight. Tonight, that moment finds you on a nearly empty park bench, long after the world has gone home. The streetlights blink with a tired glow. The air tastes cold enough to sting, and your heart feels like something inside it quietly cracked without making a sound. It's one of those heartbreak nights, the kind where even breathing feels like an effort. You tell yourself you're fine. You tell yourself breakups happen. You tell yourself time heals everything. But none of that helps when your chest feels like someone scraped out the center of it and left the edges hollow. You look down at your hands because making eye contact with the world feels unbearable. And while you're staring at the space between your fingers, trying to understand how something as invisible as love can leave damage so visible, you hear footsteps, soft, small ones. You don't look up right away. You assume it's someone passing by, but the footsteps stop right in front of you. And then a tiny voice asks, "Are you okay?" You blink, startled. A kid, maybe 7, maybe 8, stands in front of you holding a small cup of melted hot chocolate, wearing a jacket that's too big for his shoulders. His hair is messy. His shoelaces are undone, and his eyes are wide, with the sort of genuine curiosity adults lose somewhere along the way. You force a weak smile. "Yeah, I'm all right." The kid squints, like he's reading your soul. "No, you're not." For a second, you almost laugh. Kids have a way of saying the exact truth without even trying. The kid climbs up onto the bench beside you without asking, without hesitation, without any of the social rules adults pretend to care about. He sits close, not uncomfortably close, just close enough that you can feel the small warmth of another human being. Neither of you speak. You hear a dog barking in the distance, a car door slamming, a gust of wind rolling dry leaves across the pavement. Then the kid asks, "Did someone break your heart?" Your breath catches in your throat. You weren't expecting that. Not from a stranger. Definitely not from a kid. You stare straight ahead and say nothing, and your silence is enough of an answer. The kid nods like he understands heartbreak better than half the adults you know. He kicks his little legs back and forth, then says, "My friend in school cried for 3 days when his fish died. My mom said, that's heartbreak too." You exhale slowly. You're not sure if the ache inside you hurts less, or if his quiet presence just makes the pain feel less lonely. Sometimes you whisper, "People stop loving you," and you don't know why. The kid tilts his head. "Did they say they don't love you?" You shake your head. That's the thing. People don't always say it. Sometimes they just stop trying. The kid looks up at you with innocent confusion, the kind adults no longer have access to. Why would they stop trying? You want to say you don't know. You want to say people get tired. You want to say people change. You want to say sometimes love falls apart in slow motion, and you don't realize it until you're standing alone in the ruins. But you don't know how to translate any of that into words a child could understand, so you don't answer. The kid hugs his cup of hot chocolate and leans back. After a long pause, he says, calmly, like he's telling you a secret, "My mom says love is like holding a kite." You blink, surprised. He continues, "If the wind changes, it flies different, but you don't let go unless your hand gets tired." You look at him, genuinely stunned. How does a child manage to describe something adults spend years trying to decode? The kid shrugs. Maybe the person who hurt you just got tired. The words sting in a strange way. Not cruel, not naive, just honest. You swallow hard. I think they did. The kid looks down at his feet and murmurs, but that's not your fault. Something in your chest shifts, a tiny crack of relief. Barely noticeable, but real. You whisper, it feels like it is. The kid turns toward you fully now, like this is the most important part. Just because someone else drops the kite doesn't mean the wind stops caring about you. You, Dan T, realize you've been holding your breath until you let it out in a quiet, shaky sigh. The kid smiles softly. Not with pity, with understanding. Do you want to know what I think love is? You nod. The kid swings his legs again, thinking carefully. Then he says, love is when someone sees you, even when you feel invisible. You look at the kid, really look at him, and something warm flickers inside your cold, tired chest. He continues, more gently this time. Maybe the person who hurt you stopped seeing you, but that doesn't mean no one else will. You feel the world slow down around you, the streetlights glowing just a little brighter, the air a little less heavy, the night a little less cruel. The kid finishes his hot chocolate, wipes his mouth with his sleeve, and says, I can tell you more if you want. And for the first time all night, you actually want to hear it. You nod silently. The kid smiles like he knew you would. He shifts his small legs, leans forward, and says, okay, then listen carefully. And that's exactly where the next part begins. He leans forward, his small hands wrapped around the empty paper cup, his voice lowering like he's about to reveal something sacred. Okay, then listen carefully, and you do. For once, you actually do. Because somehow, in the middle of a cold, lonely night, on a park bench you didn't want to be sitting on, a child has become the only person you feel capable of hearing. The kid takes a slow breath. Grown-ups forget things, he begins softly. Not in a rude way, more like he's telling you about the weather. You raise an eyebrow. Like what? He taps his chin with one finger, thinking. They forget the stuff that makes love easy. You stare ahead, letting his words settle like warm air in your lungs. He continues. When you're little, love is simple. If someone is sad, you sit next to them. If someone is scared, you hold their hand. If someone is lonely, you play with them. He shrugs. But when people get older, they start thinking too much. You want to argue, to defend adulthood, to say life gets complicated, that people get hurt, that trauma changes how you love, but you stay quiet, because part of you knows he's not wrong. The kid swings his legs slowly, the heels of his shoes scraping the wooden bench. My mom says grown-ups hide feelings because they think it makes them strong. You smile sadly. It's true. Adults are experts at hiding heartbreak, hiding disappointment, hiding the parts of themselves they think make them unlovable. The kid turns toward you, eyes soft. Did you hide how you felt from the person who hurt you? The question hits deeper than expected. You open your mouth, then close it, because the truth is, yes, you did hide your needs. You acted okay when things weren't okay. You told them, I'm fine, when you weren't. You laughed so they wouldn't feel guilty. You stayed quiet so they wouldn't pull away faster. I think I did, you whisper. The kid nods knowingly. See, that's what grown-ups do. You try so hard to be strong that you forget you're allowed to be held to. Something in your throat tightens. Not in a painful way, more like a truth rising after being buried for too long. He continues, gently, love isn't just giving, it's letting someone give back. A silence follows warm, not heavy. You breathe slowly. Cars pass by in the distance. A few leaves flutter across the pavement like tired butterflies. A plane hums faintly overhead. And then the kid says, "Wanna know the saddest thing about love?" You blink. "What?" you ask, quietly. The kid looks up at the sky like he's searching for the right words. Some people don't stop loving you, they just stop showing it. Your heart clenches in a way that feels all too familiar. He continues, softer now, and when people stop showing it, you think it's because you did something wrong. A tear slips down your cheek before you can stop it. The kid notices, but he doesn't point it out. Kids understand emotions in a way that doesn't embarrass you. They see crying the same way adults see breathing. He keeps talking, voice steady. My mom says when someone walks away, it's not always because you weren't enough. Sometimes they're scared. Sometimes they're tired. Sometimes they don't know how to stay. You swallow hard, your throat thick with unspoken pain. The kid nudges your arm gently. But you know what she also says. You shake your head. He smiles. The right people don't run away when things get heavy. You inhale shakily because you've been telling yourself the exact opposite for months, maybe years. You think about all the times you begged for someone's love without saying a word. All the times you held on to someone who wasn't holding back. All the nights you stayed awake, waiting for a text that never came. All the ways you twisted yourself into quieter shapes so they wouldn't leave. And now, here, as a kid, a literal child, telling you the truth you couldn't tell yourself. It was never a lack of worth, just a lack of effort from them. You sit with that for a long moment. The kid's legs stop swinging. He's focused now, serious in a way that doesn't feel heavy, only honest. "Wanna know what I think?" You nod. He takes another breath, small but steady. Love is supposed to make you feel softer, not smaller. You blink, stunned. He fiddles with the cardboard cup, peeling the rim a little. If love feels like you're shrinking, that's not love anymore. Your chest feels like it's both breaking and healing at the same time. A strange, warm ache that feels like truth cracking through the surface. The kid leans his head back, looking up at the streetlight above. "When my dad left," he says suddenly. You turn to him sharply. You weren't expecting that. He doesn't seem sad. Not exactly, just reflective. "I thought it was because I wasn't good enough." Your breath catches. He continues. "But my mom said, sweetheart, he didn't know how to stay." That's different from you not being worth staying for. You feel something inside you shift again, like the ground rearranging itself after a small earthquake. The kid looks at you with soft determination. "So, if someone hurt you, I don't think it's because you weren't enough." Your eyes sting. You whisper, "Then why does it feel like that?" He doesn't hesitate, because love makes you brave, but heartbreak makes you blind. You sit there, stunned, silent. The kid lets out a tiny sigh and scoots closer, his shoulder gently touching yours. "Do you want to know how to stop hurting?" Your breath trembles. "Yes," you whisper, more honest than anything you've said in months. He thinks deeply for a moment, feet dangling above the ground. Then he says, "You let someone else see you again. The real you, not the hurting you, not the pretending you're okay you. Just you." You close your eyes, letting the words sink like sunlight into a cold room. The kid adds quietly, and you don't rush it. Kites fly again when the wind is ready. Your throat tightens around a fragile relief you didn't know you needed. The kid glances at you, eyes bright. Do you want to hear the most important part? You open your eyes. Yes, you breathe. He nods, swinging his little legs, gathering the courage for his next revelation. He leans in slightly, and with the gentlest voice says, "Love isn't gone from your life. It's just waiting for you to look up again." And right as that truth lands, soft and seismic, the night air shifts. The kid straightens his jacket, looks at your face for a moment, and then says, "There's something else you need to understand." And that's exactly where part 3 begins. There's something else you need to understand. The kid says it with a seriousness that feels unusual for someone so small. He shifts on the bench, turning his whole body toward you now, his jacket rustling softly in the cold night air. "You steady yourself? What's that?" you ask quietly. The kid pulls his sleeves over his hands as if warming up before saying something hard. "Sometimes," he begins, "the person who breaks your heart isn't the last person who will care about it. Your breath wavers," he continues, voice gentle but unshakably sure. "Grown-ups treat heartbreak like an ending, like the story is over because someone walked away. You watch him, mesmerized by how easily truth slips from him, the kind of truth adults bury under years of fear and silence." The kid shakes his head softly. "But heartbreak is just the part where the story gets quiet." You stare ahead, your heart slowly rearranging itself around his words. The kid keeps going. You think it's the part where everything breaks, but sometimes it's just the part where everything waits. He curls his fingers into his sleeves. "My mom says quiet parts are important. That's when you grow. That's when you learn what you really need." You feel your throat tighten, not from pain, but from a strange sense of being understood in a way you didn't know you needed. "So what am I supposed to do while everything is quiet?" you whisper. The kid looks at you with a softness that almost makes your chest ache. "You heal." He says it simply, like it's obvious. "You take walks. You eat real food. You sleep when you're tired, not when the world tells you to." He bumps your shoulder lightly. "You hang out with people who make you laugh, not the ones who make you question if you're enough." Your eyes sting. He tilts his head, and you cry. A lot if you need to. Crying isn't weak. It's like cleaning your heart so it doesn't get dusty. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. He continues, "My mom says when someone leaves you, it doesn't make you broken. It makes room." You blink, startled by the simplicity and the truth. "Room for what?" you ask softly. The kid smiles, small and sincere. "For someone who chooses you on purpose." You feel something inside you, something small and fragile, lean toward hope, like a plant turning toward sunlight for the first time after a long winter. The kid's voice lowers. "Do you know what the best kind of love is?" You shake your head slowly. He swings his legs, letting the question settle before he answers. "It's the kind where you don't have to go looking for it." You frown a little, unsure what he means, but he continues, "The best love finds you where you are, on a sad day, on a park bench, when you're tired or scared or lonely. It finds you even when you stopped believing you deserve to be found." Your breath catches. He turns fully toward you now, small hands resting in his lap. You think you're hard to love because one person stopped trying. You look down. It's embarrassingly true. The kid nudges your arm again, gentle and sure. But maybe that person wasn't the right kind of brave. Brave, you repeat, confused. He nods with a certainty only children have. Yeah, love takes bravery. Not the movie kind, the quiet kind. He holds up his fingers, counting. Bravery to stay. Bravery to talk. Bravery to listen. Bravery to try again, even when you're scared. He sighs softly. Some grown-ups aren't good at that kind of brave. You think back to arguments left unresolved, to conversations that never happened, to apologies that came too late or never came at all. You swallow. And what if I'm not brave either? You ask in a small voice you barely recognize. The kid smiles, like the answer is obvious. You are. How do you know? He looks at you like it's the simplest truth in the world. Because hurting and still hoping, that's bravery. Your chest tightens, but this time it feels like something inside is trying to breathe again. The kid kicks a pebble with the tip of his shoe. You want to know something strange? You nod. Sometimes the people who break us teach us what kind of love we'll never accept again. You blink, letting the weight of that land. He continues. You're not broken. You're learning. The wind picks up, rustling the leaves around your feet. The kid wraps his arms around himself, the cold finally reaching him. You instinctively ask, "You cold?" He nods a little, but smiles. My mom says being cold means you're alive, he says with a shrug. You can't help but huff a soft laugh. The kid looks at you with a curiosity that feels almost protective. Do you want to know the last thing I think about love? You nod, bracing yourself for whatever truth he's going to drop next. He says it slowly, carefully, like he wants every word to land exactly where it needs to. Love doesn't leave your life when someone leaves your life. He lets the silence sit for a moment. It just changes shape and waits for the right person to carry it next. Your eyes burn, tears gather, not the painful kind, the kind that release something old and heavy. The kid continues, almost in a whisper. So Don, T shut your heart just because one person didn't T know how to hold it. You stare at him, this small stranger who somehow understands the landscape of your pain better than anyone else in your life. He stands slowly, brushing crumbs from his jacket. You look up at him. Where are you going? You ask gently. He smiles. My mom's waiting. You nod. He takes one tiny step before he pauses, turns back, and says softly, "You're gonna be okay." The words hit you harder than they should, not because they're profound, but because they're said with a belief you can feel. He gives you a small wave. Just don't stop looking up. And with that, he turns and walks toward the street. Small footsteps fading into the quiet night, leaving you on the bench with a heart that feels bruised but beating again, fragile but alive, cracked but opening. You look up at the sky, and for the first time since your heartbreak, the world doesn't feel so empty. Love is still here, waiting, somewhere, and now. Finally, you believe it.